Welcome, everyone, to the Aging and Spirituality podcast, where we talk about living a fulfilled life over 60. And I'm Kathy Lee Taylor, and your co host is.
Chris Jensen.
And we're both so glad you're here. And we have such an interesting conversation today. Something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is I'm guessing some of you out there have experienced this too. It's kind of a strange, disorienting feeling that when you realize, you're the person that you used to be doesn't quite fit who you are anymore. You're kind of having trouble recognizing
Mhm.
yourself. I know that sounds weird, but that's how it feels sometimes, right? Like you do things and you're like, that used to be you, but now it's just like, that's not who I am anymore. We're going to talk about that today. What happens when you've outgrown that old self? And more importantly, we're going to talk about how you find harmony when your mind and your heart finally come into agreement. And that's a state that I call coherence. Just because it seems like an interesting word, to have that kind of coherence in your life is something that you can focus on when you're feeling you're getting off track.
Mhm.
And when you have that harmony, that balance, which is a word that we would use in yoga a lot more, that's where the magic happens, right? That's where the fulfillment starts
Mhm.
to come in life. So I'm just going to start off with a little story. And my glasses are throwing off these weird white things, which is getting my attention. Anyway, so there's a story that I just wanted to like give you an example. I was having coffee with a friend and she's older, about 67, and she was saying something that actually really got my attention. She said, I feel like I'm living in someone else's life, just like what we were talking about,
Mhm.
everything I thought I wanted, everything that I was working for, it's all kind of there, kind of accomplished it all, but I'm not there anymore. Which is an interesting way to look at it, right? Have you ever felt like that? Like, wow, I did all those things, but why? Oh, who cares about all that stuff that we've done in the past that meant so much to us back then? Now we're the entirely different new people and they don't really mean that much. But I mean, I can say personally that happens to me often. I think one of the things I notice the most since getting into my 60s that there's like this constant reevaluation of what is most important to spend my remaining years on. What do I want to do and be in the next, 10, 20 years? That's so important to me. So, and that's, we've all grown, right? We've all, especially after 60, it kind of feels revolutionary the way we
Mhm.
grow. I mean, it can feel really scary, right? I mean, Chris is way past that kind of stage, but in a weird way, it's strange and it's exciting at the same time. It feels kind of like coming home to yourself in a new way, like you've never really known before. You're discovering a whole new way to be. I've recently been, I was telling Chris before we got online, talking about a new business that I'm creating and had me looking at some of the what I call the superpowers, or the program calls the superpowers that I'm good at and what I feel I'm here to provide in terms of service to other people. And it's really an enlightening journey to know what you're capable of that you haven't actually done in your
Mhm.
entire
Yeah.
life, right? It opens up this whole idea of holy crap, did I miss my gig? Like, did the train go by and I missed it?
Mhm.
You know, like that. I mean, in an exciting way, not in a, I'm sorry I missed the train. An exciting way, like, holy cow, there's something out there that I really meant to do, and the details of the purpose and how I can do it and what I'm good at and my lived experience and all of these cool things that can really come into play at this
Mhm.
point in your life. So I'm just throwing that out there so you get excited. If you think, you don't know what your purpose is, boy, there's a lot out there that you can learn about yourself and do and grow and be. So let's talk about what it means to outgrow your old self. So for many of us, of course, that means you spent probably 6 decades building careers, building families, building, I don't know, reputations, whatever it is that you've been focused on for 60 years. You taught yourself to be strong and useful and And in a lot of ways, most of us have spent a lot of years just being needed by others, right? Taking care of others. And we internalize those roles so deeply that they become our identity. Some women never move past that identity of being needed by others, and it's enough for them. That's okay. And some of us want to do more. The thing about after 60 is that
I just want
many
to
of
say
those,
one thing here,
yeah,
in
of
terms
course.
of outgrowing your old self. One of the things that resonates for me is not necessarily the stuff that I've done or doing, but the person I am inside
Mm.
doing the stuff. I may be doing the same stuff or I may be doing something different, but the person inside is changing. And that's, for me, that's what I always see as outgrowing my old self. Because one
Well,
day,
but that's interesting that you say that because you've been a teacher forever,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So how has that changed from who you were back, I don't know, years ago till now?
I feel like I'm much, much more of a clear instrument now
Okay,
for higher consciousness to move. And,
right.
one day, a month or two ago, I don't know what happened during the night, but I woke up and I felt really out of sorts. And I thought, oh, that's how I felt when I was a teenager. I mean, I remembered that feeling. I remembered it as a young adult sometimes, and I thought, wow, that's a different person.
Wow, it
Totally.
is, right?
It's a really different person.
It
And that's
feels like
that's what I see when you talk about outgrowing your old self. I mean, this person that I am is
yep,
different all the time. Yeah.
I know. Well, even your body, when you look at it, you go, you're a teeny baby, and then you're 10, and
Yeah.
then you're 20, and
Yeah.
your body is different
Yeah.
every
Body's
at
different.
every
Yeah.
stage,
Yeah.
right? When you
Yeah.
look back, you go, was that me? That little
Yeah.
tyke was me? But yeah, you definitely evolved to such a, I mean, I've known you for a lot of years, and your ability to channel spirit and have transformation for other people has just grown and grown and grown over the years. Over the
Right.
years.
Yeah, and I feel that, yeah, what I feel is that personal growth that's going on all the time is so key. And one of the things we tell people sometimes in yoga that you may feel very disoriented.
Hmm.
You may have a really good meditation experience and feel disoriented afterwards
Yeah.
because your there's an inner shift, there's tremendous
Sure.
growth, and it's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had many of those conversations over
Yeah.
the years. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Sometimes like the world is falling apart and
Mhm.
you have nothing to hold on to and you don't know who you are or what the hell's happening.
Yeah.
That's very, very true.
Anyway, not
So
to derail your point, but that was
no,
just
never,
yeah,
never, never. This is what it's all about. It's conversation. So
yeah.
so I started to say, after 60, many of the external structures we were talking about people that maybe maintain the same kind of identity after 60. So the external structures start to shift and they don't give you a choice. They kind of kick you out. They kind of kick you out of what's, going on, right? I mean, because your kids grow and they're out of the house. And then if you're one of those people that just needs to be needed, well, I don't know, you can get a cat or a dog, I guess.
Hmm.
But it's not the same thing, right? So, or, and maybe you worked your whole life and you're like us and you're retired and you're scaling back. And now you're like, well, now what do I do? I was joking today about, God, I wish I could retire. And somebody said, nah, you wouldn't want to retire. You've been working your whole life. Yeah, kind of, my body kind of feels like it, it's tired. And I know what I would want to do if I wasn't working.
Mhm.
But, people, they don't. In other words, the point was that you get moved into changes sometimes that you're not necessarily planning. Like you may feel like you are somebody that just needs to be somebody that takes care of other people or takes care of the house or takes care of the kids. And then all of a sudden they're not, all that structure changes and you're 60 and you're like, what in the am I supposed to do with my life? And for a lot of women, it's the first time they stop and think, yeah, what am I supposed to do? What
Mhm.
am I supposed to do? Like, am I here for a purpose other than taking care of everybody else? What do I want? And it's shocking because they don't know how to answer that question, but don't panic.
Mm.
We'll talk a little bit about that, So when I say I'm outgrowing yourself, when I talk about outgrowing yourself, I'm talking about that moment when you realize the beliefs and the habits and the ways of being that served you before for decades don't serve you anymore. You're
Mhm.
changing inside. You're being called to something different, being called to do something different, be something different. Maybe it's a belief that you have to please everyone. Maybe it's the habit of putting yourself last. A lot of women do that one. Maybe it's the idea that your worth is tied to your productivity. That
Mhm.
would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
sure, right? And all of that stuff has to go
Mhm.
when you get past 60 because the changes just won't accommodate that kind of thinking. You are pulled into being an entirely different being. So it gets interesting at this point, right? Your mind um, might understand it intellectually. You might know that you don't have to prove yourself anymore, but your heart might still be clinging to the old ways. Your heart might still feel guilty when you say no to people or selfish when you prioritize yourself. And those are the places where you have to start to grow because I call that the mind heart gap. Like this is the
Mhm.
place where harmony is disrupted, right?
Yeah.
When there is no coherence between the mind and the heart
Mhm.
feel off. And for some reason it can be one of the biggest sources of inner conflict as we age. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we bring our mind and our heart into coherence? I'm going to share three practices actually that I
Mm.
hope will help you. And Chris, with her vast knowledge of yoga can pipe in at any point here and just tell us what she thinks about this process of
Oh, I love doing practices.
the gap of mind and heart together. This is our favorite subject.
Mhm.
So number one, first, get honest about what no longer fits for you anymore. Be
Mm.
honest with yourself. This requires real courage for most people, sitting down and asking yourself, what am I still doing out of obligation?
Mhm.
Habit, habit,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Just because you've done it forever and you don't know
Mhm.
what else to do. So you just keep doing the thing you've been doing all along. What am I holding on to because I'm afraid of disappointing others? It's another one that women do a lot of. What beliefs about myself are simply outdated?
Mm.
You know, a lot of us hold on to, and I've talked about this so many times, being our old ways out of shame. We grew up with
Mhm.
shame,
Yeah.
and that stops us from wanting to move forward. I had a client who spent 40 years in a church community, and that was her anchor and her identity. And around 65, she realized theology no longer resonated with her. Her mind had evolved from that, and her understanding of spirituality had deepened. But her heart was terrified of leaving and terrified of losing her community and of being judged and of disappointing people that she really, really loved. And the coherence came when she honored both of her truths, and that is, I've outgrown this theology, and I'm scared to leave. Both of these are real. And when she stopped fighting the fear, she
Mhm.
could move on through it through compassion. You
Mhm.
know, both could exist at the same time. She didn't have to choose between her mind and her heart. She could hold both gently and find a new way forward. That's the point where a lot of people find things like yoga, right? They're
Mhm.
done, they're done being told by a church what it is they have to do to, make it into the other side. Whatever the
Mhm.
messaging
Right,
is they get
whatever it
in church.
is. Yeah.
We've had this conversation many times, because religion was something that what didn't attract us for specific reasons, lifetimes of having lived through it and grown to a place where we understood it from a whole different point of view, and spirituality became our focus. So spirituality is to tough yoga became our focus, but it's spirituality is a tough world in the days today because it means so many different things to people. So and anyway, the second practice is to listen to your body. This is a big one for me right now. I'm having so much going on with mine that I'm just like, what the heck? I guess I took it for granted for so many years, but it may sound unrelated, but just hang in there with me, because your body is where your mind and your heart really meet. It's where truth lives. It's where you're living out your life, really. And I've personally been living this one, like I said, a lot lately, where there's a gap between what you think you should do and what your heart actually wants. Your body will tell you. Maybe it's tension in your shoulders, maybe it's exhaustion that sleep won't fix. Maybe it's the vague sense of unease you can't quite name. I think that's where I am on a lot of things with my body. Like, what in the heck are you trying to tell me? And after 60, many of us have spent so long ignoring our body signals. I know I did, that we've forgotten how to listen. We push through the
Mm,
pain and exhaustion and discomfort because we had to and others were counting on us and for whatever reason. But now is the time to relearn that language of the body. You have to ask yourself, what does my body need right now? What does it want? And you have to give it to it. You have to pay attention to it. Like for me, my body wants to move energy. So I go to a Tai Chi class and I do that. My body wants to relax a lot more than I want to give it time to because I still have lots of things that I want to learn and do. But my body wants to relax, so I have to schedule time in, even during the day, just to literally relax. Like we were talking about doing deep relaxation, 10 minutes a day. Just let the body have time to recoup. And sometimes coherence starts with something as simple as noticing that your body relaxes when you say yes to one thing and tenses up when you say
mm,
yes to another, right? So that's the information you have to pay attention to it. What is the inner wisdom trying to guide you toward?
and it lets you know.
100%.
Yeah.
Somatic, yeah. We're not talking about healing on a somatic level here. We're talking about grounded practices of moving through your life, listening to your body as you move. You know, we've talked a lot about how listening to the heart, quieting the mind, listening. At some point, you do have to listen to your body and what it's actually telling you to do, especially
Mhm.
as we age. So okay, and the third practice is, and this one could be a game changer for some people, is give yourself permission to grieve the old self.
Mm,
And you know, it's important because when you outgrow who you used to be, there feels like a loss that's involved, right? When you look back and you go, I
that other
liked who I
person is
was
very
then, or
familiar.
yeah, it's like looking at your kid,
Yeah.
going out the door, going to school, like
Mhm.
you want them to stay little forever, like you have the same
Mm,
motherly instincts towards your old self that you
mhm,
do to your children and your friends and your loved ones and all of those things. So even if the old self was limiting and painful, it's still yours. It was what is familiar, and that's the point. And letting it go can feel like grief. I remember when I realized I was no longer the woman who could or wanted to say yes to every request, prided myself on being indispensable. Yeah,
Right.
right. I could fix anything. God, what a dork I was. I
Mhm,
mean, that productive version of me had carried me through a lot of hard years.
mhm,
So, good on me. That's what I did to cope with a lot of stuff that was going on in my life. I had to be strong and capable and generous and loving and all those things. And I just had to honor her. And even as I let go of her, it just feels really nostalgic, right? You like, there's a part of you that you feel like, oh, okay, I don't have to hold on to that part anymore. She's like flown the coop.
mhm,
She's grown and we can let her fly, right? I recently gave someone I care about a weighted panda as a gift. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but you know how they talk the weighted blankets you can put on you and they're supposed to be really comfortable and
mhm.
comforting. So I gave her a weighted panda and it's like it sits on you like it's giving you a big hug.
Yeah.
It's the cutest thing. I tried it.
Oh,
And as I
wow.
was holding it, I was like, maybe I need to get one of these for me.
Yourself. Yeah.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Right? It can hug me anytime I need a hug. Like
Right. Right.
I
What's
mean,
wrong
and
with that? What's wrong with
and I thought about it when I was talking about grieving, right? Because sometimes you just need that hug. You just need a
Mhm.
little comfort. So why not give it to yourself? I give myself a little hugging
Yeah.
panda. I think that's a great
It's a
idea.
great idea.
Every,
I love
yeah,
it.
every time you like have to say goodbye to a part of yourself that's grown up and
Mhm.
gone away to college, right? You can give yourself another hug along the way. So here's the truth, to remember. You can't step into a new version of yourself while you're dragging the old one along.
Hmm.
You do have to release that part of
You
you
have to let go. You
with
have to
love.
let
You
go.
have to let go, and it can be very nostalgic.
Hmm.
And so when you do that, just remember to say, thank you for getting me here. Thank you for being so strong and working so hard and then just acknowledge your new self.
Mhm.
I'm ready to be someone new now. And that's where the coherence begins to happen.
Mhm.
When the mind heart gap stops, you
Mhm.
start having harmony. When you
Comes
understand how that
together.
letting go is
Mhm.
important, right? This is where
Yep.
your mind and heart start to work together instead of pulling in opposite directions. So, okay. So, what coherence actually feels like, I think sometimes, we're waiting for this big lightning bolt moment, but really it's just quiet shifts in your life. It feels like ease. It feels like breathing deeper into your experience. It feels like make a decision and not second guessing yourself, for the next 3 days or whatever it is, and
Mhm.
just having that trust in yourself, that confidence in who you are. Coherence is when you can say something without feeling guilty or feeling shame, and or feeling resentment, right? Say yes without feeling resentment. It's when you can hold your own complexity, the fact that you're wise and you're still learning.
Mhm.
You're wise and you're still learning. You'll always be still learning. That you're confident and sometimes you're uncertain.
Mhm.
And that you're grateful and you're grieving, right? You
Mhm.
could all of those things feel like they would be opposing, but they're not. They're complex. And coherence is integrating that. It's wholeness. It really is. That's probably the best word. Well, wholeness and harmony are the same thing, right? It's that wholeness. It's the opposite of being at war with yourself, being at peace with yourself.
Mhm.
So here's what I've learned. Coherence isn't something you achieve once and then you're done. It's something you
No.
practice every day
I'm
because
always
life
amazed
keeps
at
changing.
how the growth is continual. I mean, no matter how much I think I've grown past something, there's always more.
There's always more,
Always more.
which is why it's so awesome to have friends like us because we can
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
we can always celebrate all the fun stuff along the way. Never stops. It's never
Hmm.
bored, you know. We keep changing, and our coherence at 60 or
Hmm.
65 looks different than it does, 5, 10 years later. It's like
Hmm.
learning a new language. At first you think you have to know every word, but eventually you just start to dream in it,
Yeah.
you start just understand it and live it and be it. And that's the fun thing about growth and transformation. So I had a story here, but this is going to go long, so I'm just going to go into this part of if you're listening to this and you're feeling that restlessness, the sense that something needs to shift. I just want you to know you're not alone, you're not broken, you're growing and
Hmm.
you're evolving. I hope you
Yeah.
can hear that from this conversation. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And so the invitation for our listeners today is to be gentle with yourself. So as you navigate that gap between who you were and who you're becoming, you can just honor, your mind's wisdom and maybe your heart's fears,
Yeah.
You can trust that the discomfort of outgrowing your old self is actually the labor pain of birthing your new self and welcome that new self in.
Yeah.
So here's a practice that you can take with you. And if you have a pen or just go back and listen to this, if you want to practice this week, having bringing that gap between mind and heart together to have the coherence and experience that harmony, which really is the place where you're going to start feeling fulfilled in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Just find a quiet moment and ask yourself these questions. And the first one is, what belief about myself no longer serves me?
Hmm.
What am I operating on that really is not, is that old person that's already taken the exit route? You just didn't notice. So what belief about myself no longer serves me? Number two, where is there a gap between what my mind knows and what my heart feels? This is a good one to do on a daily basis.
That's
You
what
feel
you're
it, a
right.
feeling a gap between your mind and your heart?
Your heart
I sure
knows. Your mind will try to trick you.
100%. Yeah, I've been reading so much about these Buddhist ideas of stopping thinking. Like David Hawkins, I don't know if you read his book Power versus Force.
Yeah,
He talked about he had I guess a series of enlightening kind of experiences, but he talked about when he just stopped thinking, wasn't useful anymore. I'm
yeah,
thinking, oh
yeah,
my God, really?
yeah, yeah.
I'm just going to stop thinking one day and won't need it anymore. Okay. So it's probably true though. Like your heart probably could do as good of a job or better if you
Mhm.
just listen and let it lead, right?
Right.
So where is it? Where is that gap between what my mind knows and my heart really feels? And number three, what would coherence feel like in my body right now? That's a good one. For me, it would have to be peace because I've got so much jumbled conversations going on in there that I would love to have a feeling of peace, peacefulness. Everything gonna be okay. So don't rush to get answers. Just sit with those questions and let them work on you. Just wait and see how you feel. If emotions come up and you feel sad or fear or excitement, just let them come. Just let them come. Not gonna hurt you. Just let them come and let them go and see what messages they have for you, right? See what the inner wisdom is speaking to you. So there you go. That's our conversation on coherence and getting harmony back into your life so you can feel fulfilled. And, thank you for coming and showing up for us and listening and having the courage to grow because life is messy. Beautiful,
It's not
but messy.
simple. It's never simple, but you know what?
Yeah.
If it's too easy, you're not growing.
Yeah.
You're missing something. So
It's not near as much fun either.
yeah, that's
Just
right.
think of it as a really sacred journey.
It is.
Aging is really aging with intention is even
Yeah,
more
you're
sacred
mindful.
in
Yeah,
yeah,
yep,
in its journey.
yep.
So, and if this particular episode resonated with you, go to YouTube for us,
Mm-hmm.
subscribe, like, and share. The more you do that, the more people are going to actually hear the podcast. We
Mm-hmm.
love it when you comment, and tell us what's going on with yourself.
Yep.
We love to be able to talk to you and respond to your questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So until next time, just be brave, be gentle with yourself, and remember you are right where you need to be.
Right,
I'm going to be
exactly.
thinking now.
Exactly. You know, you got to be content to grow and move forward.
Yes, 100%. And
So,
it's all going to work out.
yep. So thanks for coming today, everybody.
Yeah. See you next week. Big love.
Bye.
Bye.